Well, hello and welcome to another episode in our Tribulation Soldier COMS YouTube and Facebook. And at the moment I'm working through the end times, as shown in the book of Revelations, hopefully nice and uncomplicated, just all the big stuff, the bullet points, just to put this whole picture together about what Revelation says is to come. And like I said, I really want to keep it uncomplicated, so I'm just going to go through these it's nice and simply, putting all the layers in that we need and just layer it up and layer it up and layer it up. And hopefully that'll give you guys a great idea of what these end times are going to be like. So as always, I'm a YouTuber, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit notifications. That would be awesome. Loads and loads of videos coming up. But just now I really want to focus on this particular season because it is hugely important. So hope you enjoy. Yeah, so just to refresh, what the scriptures teach us is that in the future there'll come an age called the 7-year trial and tribulation, which really comes to the closing stages of mankind's history. And in that 7-year trial and tribulation, there's 21 judgments of God, starting off with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which many of you will have heard of before, I'm sure. And we've already detailed the first horse, the white horse, which is the rise of the Antichrist and the one world government. So now we move on to the second, which is the red horse. And this judgment brings about massive armed conflict all over the world. The peace is taken away. It's also a time where the false prophet will rise up. I think I'll share him in the next video. He relates so much towards what the next seal is. It's all about the economy and the mark of the beast and 666 and all that sort of stuff. So I'll just leave him aside just now. Although, he would be present in that time of the second seal being opened. But yeah, massive armed conflict all over the world. And of course, at that time, the Antichrist and the false prophet will be seeking to conquer, get that one world government up and running. And of course, we know that, there's different types of conflict. There's economic conflict, there's political, there's armed. This is more about armed conflict. And the word, and I'll go into the scriptures another time, I don't want to just keep speaking about quoting off scripture, but it comes with a sword, and the sword represents armed conflict. Now, of course, in the world today, there's a lot of armed conflict, and there really is. I suppose the main ones, it's just what we see in the news, which is covered, is obviously the war in Ukraine, the Ukraine conflict with Russia, and what's happening in Israel at the moment, and that's just the name too. But there's many we don't think about. There's still problems in Libya, there's insurgency in Somalia, Sudan, Ethiopia. I suppose closer to home for us in the Western world would have been the past Afghanistan and Iraq wars, which were very long, obviously. I bet there's very few people in the Western world who didn't even at least know someone that served there at some stage. Family members, friends, really affecting us over here when those conflicts happen thousands and thousands of miles away. Now, with all the conflicts that we see, is it so difficult to imagine a world conflict all over the world? And the answer would be no. But there is a big difference between what we see now and what we see in the tribulation period. And guys, I'm not minimizing, the type of war we have in this day and age. Not minimizing it at all. I'm sitting here in my lovely warm house, and there's people freezing out in the battlefields at the moment. Families being torn apart. Fathers being lost, brothers being lost, mums, sisters, family members, innocent civilians. It's just horrific. That is horrific. So I'm not going to minimize that at all, but I just want to show you the difference in the scale. At the moment, there's a relative peace, as it happens all over the world. But in the tribulation period, when this seal's opened, that peace will be taken from the earth to where it will be in full armed conflict all over the world. The Antichrist at this point, when this seal's opened, is already trying to conquer. He's already conquering different places. And it's on a scale that he will become the end times one world ruler. And to achieve that has to be armed conflict. And that's what he'll do. It does seem unthinkable. One man, the Antichrist, will be able to be the one world government. That he'll be able to conquer the nations. Why is that so difficult to believe? But you take one man, and I know it's an easy example, but Hitler. Because of Hitler's desires, because of Hitler's decisions, 58 million people lost their lives in World War II. He occupied most of Europe. He was making war with Russia, with the UK, with the US, and he had all those people following him. One man, and his name was Hitler. So why would it be so difficult to believe that this Antichrist figure couldn't do the same? Look back across history, guys. Look at the empires, the conquerors, the British Empire, the Roman Empire. Not difficult. Not difficult to imagine at all. Sometimes you look at the book of Revelations, and yes, some of the stuff is spectacular. But even the first seal, the Antichrist, that's not difficult to believe that one man could do that. With all the conflicts that we see in the world today, it's not difficult to imagine worldwide conflicts. But the Antichrist will, in that time, be the victor. He'll be the conqueror. He will make that happen. Again, you look at the grip that dictators have had over whole countries. One dictator, from whatever way he looks at things, the kind of decisions he makes affects millions of people. Millions. Oh, these things aren't hard to imagine at all. The white horse, the red horse, guys, easy. What I'm trying to show you in this though, guys, that when we look at the book of Revelations as well, this stuff isn't all that far-fetched. You know, you look at it and you look at it and you say, could this actually happen? I mean, is it possible? And the answer is yes. It is very possible. The good thing is though, you know, living in this age is that conquest by the Antichrist will not take place until that 7-year trial and tribulation begins. And for the 7-year trial and tribulation to begin, there needs to be what they call the rapture. It's a sort of common word for Jesus coming back. Not in a second coming, but coming back. It's actually more termed as the catching away. So again, like I said in the last video, you know, he'll come back and a third of the population of the world could disappear in an instant. Absolute instant. Then that begins. Yeah, when you sit and you try to imagine it, you know, we look through the world of our specs that we see just now, you know, and there are some mega conflicts all over the world, atrocities, insurgencies. There's not a lot of peace. There's wars happening that you wouldn't really class as a war, but they're happening. We are a warlike people. And, you know, even secular historians would agree that there's never been a point in history that they can find there's been world peace where there hasn't been a conflict. We are a warring people. We hate. We have ignorance. We have racism. Even in Scotland, we had our clans just a couple of 100 years ago who'd fight pitched battles with swords probably right out there before these houses were built. Conflict has always been around, and according to the scriptures, it always will be around. But it won't intensify to that real world stuff until the tribulation comes. Even Hitler fell short of world domination, and other dictators would have dreamt of it, just never really rose up. But doesn't it just amaze you? One man can do all those things. You have to look at the consequences of war, and it's very, very far reaching. Like I said, you know, I've got friends who've served in Iraq and Afghanistan, multiple tours. When I was back in the British Army Reserves, the captain at that point had been in the Falklands War, and they'd had their ship sunk. My grandfather was in World War II, he's a World War II bomber navigator, and he survived 3 tours of duty, which was almost unheard of. And he came back, he was never the same again. I never knew that guy. I knew my granddad as I saw him. He lost a lot of friends, and it affected him for the rest of his life. War is a part of the world. We'll never see world peace. We really won't see world peace. That might appear a little bit dark, you know, this particular one. But guys, this is going to get worse and worse and worse. You know, the intensity, the changes in the world, you know, as we go through these 21 judgments. We're just starting. We're at number 2. That's all we're on at the moment. We've still got the conquest of the false prophet, the mark of the beast, the sun and the moon being darkened, and a great worldwide earthquake. And that's just to name a couple, you know, just 2 or 3 things that are going to happen during this 7-year trial and tribulation period. It will get worse and worse and worse during that time. So anyway, that's the first 2 done. And hopefully you're seeing the beginning stages, you know, the beginning stages of the 7-year tribulation period. The 21 judgments run in order, so they're a time frame. They go across like that. And obviously each one adds to the other and has consequences for the other and so on, you know. But at the minute, I really just want to build this picture up, this nice simple picture of the timeline so you can see it for yourself. But it is exciting stuff, you know, the book of Revelations, the stuff from the Old Testament, the prophets said, the things that have happened, prophecies that have been fulfilled already, all the evidence towards this and evidence towards that in the scriptures, guys. You're going to really enjoy this. Absolutely really enjoy this. And I'm just getting revved up and getting started here. You know, we haven't really got fully going into this. But as the momentum picks up, you know, the more and more you'll see, the more truth you'll see. And I'm just hoping that you really, really thoroughly enjoy it. So again, guys, for now, just a very brief one on the second seal. I'm going to move on to the third, which is the black horse, which has got a lot to do with the economics of the world, which affect everybody. Well, again, we're going to see it in a greater scale in the 7-year trial and tribulation period. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. On a much lighter note, we've got our Birnie Family channels you can enjoy. We've got 3 kids channels. We've got our Birnie Family channel for adults. There's loads of videos on there. I'm busy building a wild camping lorry at the time of doing this particular teaching and stuff. So just really hope you enjoy them as well. But for now, God bless and thank you so much.